I'll say I've said this before, and I'll say this again, that there is one main reason why Creeper Hunter failed. There are a lot of reasons why Creeper Hunter succeeded and why it went on for 5 years. And I don't I don't care much about the reason why it failed. I do care about the reasons on how it succeeded. But generally speaking, education is at the forefront of why it succeeded. There are more than 150 names on that list from Creeper Hunter TV. The Brad Droulards, the John Van Nordenens, the Ryan Jessups, the Sean Cullings, the Scott Morgesons. I some of the names kind of elude me, but like there are a lot of great reasons why Creeper Hunter succeeded. And all of those people, those 150 names plus that are on that list, all of those people had some sort of interruption in their thought processes. Their thought processes were, hey, it's okay to chat with minors online and for really bad purposes. That was their thought process, regardless of whether or not they went through with a meeting or not. They still had this thought process happening in their brain that it was okay to have conversations like this. But let's add another layer of education onto that. The general public. I cannot tell you the hundreds of emails that I received from random people, parents, caregivers, etc., that said, hey, thank you so much for telling me where these vulnerabilities are online. Thank you so much. Not only emails, but like people just commenting on stuff. So like the general public was now educated about the types of risks that were illustrated in Creeper Hunter. And when you go one step further, now the family and friends of these people, 150 plus people, now the family and friends are also educated on what their loved one was doing in private and was doing in private without being charged. Although there were, I think, 8 or 9 people at least from Creeper Hunter that were charged. There's probably a list of at least 25, maybe 30, maybe 40 people that were actually investigated, that we supported some kind of criminal investigation. But those family and friends had the opportunity to now take action and support their loved ones, get them help. But people like Chris Drouillard never did that to his brother. Chris Drouillard goes in this shamed film and starts blaming me for the death of his brother. 4 years, 4 years after I had any interaction with him. And what did he do to stop his brother from selling drugs, illicit drugs on the streets? Nothing. He didn't support his brother in getting help for his issues because his brother was somebody that he harmed. These people primarily had their issues ignored. They stuck their heads in the sand along with their families most of the time. Some of the time, their families actually cared and got them help. There was one guy from Florida. I don't want to name his name. All right, let's call him Liam. Liam contacted after the fact and said, "Hey, I wanna get down off Creeper Hunter." And we said, "Well, that's not happening. You were caught in an investigation that we participated in where you chatted with a minor online and you came to meet with a minor, what you believe to be a minor." So Liam has a lawyer contact us, and the lawyer starts laying out a ground plan, like a plan for like 2 years for Liam. This is what Liam is gonna do. Now, you don't need to do anything, Jason, but we're just telling you this, and we'd like to come to some kind of amicable resolution about this story that you published, this actual story that you've published. There was never, ever a claim. There was never, not once, a claim that anybody ever fucking said where they were on there because the truth hadn't been spoken. All of the circumstances on Creeper Hunter, nobody disputed the raw facts that are seen in those stories. Not until Jane Sims came along and Matt Gallagher came along and tried to give the inference or the suggestion that maybe people on there, maybe their circumstances were bent a little bit and they shouldn't have been on there. No, everybody was on there. Everybody's on that list of 150 people because of whatever it is that brought them there. There's nothing untrue about the stories told through Creeper Hunter. Nothing. Not one bit. And that's why I'm suing these idiots. But the education part is the super most important issue for me and why Creeper Hunter succeeded. But it failed also concurrently because of one main reason. Because the general public was more interested in shaming predators and pedophiles. They were more interested in shaming them than they were about taking action. It would have been great if we would have had 200,000 people around the world watching this stuff on a regular basis that were taking action to do something. They were petitioning governments, their own governments. They were writing letters to Congress or whatever. But they weren't doing that. Maybe there was a very small percentage, but like for the most part, people just found it entertaining. They wanted to be entertained while predators and pedophiles suffered. And that's up to them. I never have looked at one of these types of things, these videos of creep catchers, and thought it's pleasurable watching somebody else suffer on camera like this or being shamed afterwards. That was never a thought. What I loved was the production aspect of it in producing very well balanced stories and truthful stories about more than 150 people that I had most of the time direct contact with. Sometimes it didn't make it to me, but definitely like people involved with Creeper Hunter were chatting with people on a regular basis. And they would interrupt those thoughts. Interrupt those thoughts. They would educate those people in telling them that this was wrong. So those are the two main reasons why Creeper Hunter failed and why it was a success, whether people want to say it was a success or not. Just because it's shut down doesn't mean that that information is not flying around on the internet somewhere. But it's still a success because it's continuously educating people on a regular basis about why there are harms online, how people, adults can chat with children online. That's why it was a success. And that's why people need to take action about these kinds of harms. So, how can you take action about these kinds of harms online? It's simple. Figure out one way that you can make a difference. Is it making a donation to a charity that supports counseling for people that are having pedophilic thoughts? Is it that you can write a letter to your congressman or member of parliament or whatever to tell them about how social media allows this to happen, how it allows these kinds of risks to thrive, and that you want to take action? Maybe something different. Maybe it's that you want to build your own social media platform. Maybe you're a software developer and you think, hey, I'm going to make the healthiest social platform on earth. Because that's possible. I know from firsthand experience. So, if you want to take action, you have that power. And I encourage you to do something about these issues. Do not just sit around on your ass doing nothing, because that puts everybody at risk, not just kids. It puts grown adults that are at risk of being harmed somehow online. Everybody is at risk online. There are predators of all kinds wanting to scam people and prey on vulnerable people. So, what are you going to do about it? Please tell me you're doing something. Just one thing. Just one thing. Anything. Do something. Something productive. But don't do nothing.